I mean, other than my kids being born, it was the best. It was like the best feeling ever.
Not a lot changing right now at Silver Creek either while you take the athletic director. Like parking's fine. The football games are going to be fine. So
yeah.
Era Sports. We're at the game.
Welcome back to another episode of the Era Sports Podcast, where over the next couple weeks we're going to talk to players and coaches getting ready for the basketball season here in Indiana, which is probably the most important thing of the year for this state. So today I have a state champion, more than that, a double state champion, probably should be triple, and we'll talk about that. Coach Hoffman, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
We really appreciate your time. We'll start right off with the new gig. Thank you for carving out some time, because now you're a real busy man.
Yeah, I don't know how much more free time I'm going to have for the next, 15 years of my career. Yeah. But I'm super excited about it. It's a lot different this year. We started school and I don't have any students for the first time in 22 years. So
is this something that when you were planning your life, is an athletic director something that you were planning for, or was it always teacher and coach and then this came along?
Well, I've always had great relationships with our athletic directors. Back when I started, when Larry Rickmer was there, and then I've been really close to John the last couple of years. So it was maybe something I envisioned doing when I was done coaching, just kind of riding that out into retirement. But when the opportunity came up and I was able to do it, I think that was a good way for me to give even more back to Silver Creek than what my family does right now. So. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
There's not a lot changing right now at Silver Creek either while you take the athletic director. Like parking's fine. The football games are going to be fine. So
yeah. There's a few nails and hammers around campus, but we got it. It's just a great time right now at Silver Creek. Not only our athletic teams are going to be really good. We have a few that I think could compete for state championships, but then we're on the precipice of pretty much unveiling a new school. Our outside facilities are last year when they were unveiled, they were the top, top facilities around. And here, here in October, when we open up phase 1 of the new construction project, those facilities will be just as nice as the outside. So I'm super excited about that. I'm really grateful for the students that we have, because they've really had to sacrifice going to school through the construction phase, which has not been easy. And I'm glad they'll get some of the fruits of their labor when this stuff starts opening up.
I think Scott resembled the classrooms like a war hospital. There's like drapes and like your rolling carts or something like that for his last couple of years.
That wouldn't be like Scott to be dramatic.
No. He was really excited. Your locker room is really beautiful and awesome. He was telling me about his new locker room that he's getting. The basketball facilities in general. What are you excited about to see? I know we talked about the spot I sit and film all the games is now gone. So what are you excited for the gym part?
Well, there's a couple things. The big difference is going to be the stage is taken out, and there's going to be seating. There's going to be bleachers there behind the goal. So
enough to host a sectional for boys?
Man, that would be awesome. Not this year, but that's already been determined. But to put our student section there, I can envision our ozone being packed, being behind the goal there. That's a really cool thing. And then on the other side of the gym, that's where the new construction will be part of the gym, because that's going to be where the athletic entrances, the new concession stands, all the displays we'll have. So this season, when you come to a Silver Creek game, everything's going to look a lot different.
Yeah,
but still, they didn't redo it to where it looks brand new. It kind of still has its old school feel too.
That's awesome. And that display case, will that have a couple trophies in it that you guys have won, or is it?
Yeah. We'll definitely put those where everybody can see them.
Yeah, I wrote down something here. This will be your incoming. It's your 15th year at Silver Creek. You're 239 wins in, and we were talking with Coach Wilkerson in one of the previous episodes about how lucky you have to be in March, but then also how hard it is to win a sectional. And a lot of coaches don't get to do that. And so I think it was 7 of the 15 years you've got to cut down a net at some level for that sectional title, which is unbelievable. Tell me, what's it like to win a sectional? Maybe with some of your teams that, of course, you have your really talented teams with some of the players we'll talk about, but what's it like to win towards the beginning of your career? What was that like?
Oh, man, it was awesome. So I was a JV coach for 7 years before that.
At Silver Creek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is, Yeah, pretty much. Other than when I played there, and I went to Hanover for 4 years and came back. I've been there. I've been there my whole life. So, but during that time, we had not won a sectional, and so up year 3 of my career in 2014, we're playing Brownstown, and in the sectional final. And I just remember talking to Dave. I was like, "Man, you've won so many. Just let me have one." And that year we weren't supposed to, and we won on game-winning free throws by Christian Reed. And it was like, other than my kids being born, it was the best. It was like the best feeling ever. It was incredible, that 2014. And then after that, the kids started, once you get that taste and they like that feeling, then they want to have that feeling again. And just winning just kind of kept breeding winning. And then it doesn't hurt that our talent was just through the roof too. So it's been 3 years since we've won one. So we're really hungry to do that again. But there's nothing like cutting a basketball net down.
Tell me, so you went 14, 15, 16 sectional championships. Other than Christian, you just mentioned Christian. What were some other players that were maybe some of our new followers wouldn't remember, but you had some really good players? I know Patrick will be able to probably say every roster, but
oh gosh. Well, Christian was really good. Before him, we had Nick Tinsley, who played at IUS, a guy named Gabe Bauer, who was our leading scorer through those years.
I remember
Ryan Baker and Cam Stevens were 2 really, really good guards during that time. And then we get into the years after that. We won in 18 through 21, those 4 years. And of course, everybody knows Trey and Cooper and Brandon, but Zane Gross was, when he graduated, he was the second all-time leading scorer. And Jack Hawkins, man, I know I'm going to forget somebody. They're going to be mad, but we've just had a run of a lot of good players.
That 19 state championship was it was so fun for the community. I remember I got to go to that, and I was like on the second, but you just look up and it was literally orange from top to bottom. I think really the only other team I see fill it up that much was probably Lanesville when they went with the girls team. They filled it up, and I was like, wow, Lanesville bring that many people. But 19 was cool because you had the younger star powers, but you also had those OG players that were just good. You're talking about Zane and all those guys. What do you have a favorite state championship game?
I was going to ask who do you think your best state champion is?
I don't know. It's like which kid do you love the most? Well,
it's
that
Harper.
Senior class. Yeah, don't tell the other two. That senior class, with Ty Kessinger and Zane and Jack and Josh Landers and Jacoby and Baxter, those guys they did a lot for our program, and they were such great leaders. And our young players, Trey and Cooper and Brandon, they really helped foster them and help develop the players they were at that point. So that was a lot of fun, and we weren't supposed to win. It's a lot different than when you're not supposed to win in semi-state and then, the state, because those 2 teams you had to play were really good.
Was 19 the year you played Trey Galloway?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm just remembered. But those guys you had that weren't your D1 guys, I just remember watching them all season. They're just like, I'd want to go to war with those guys. They were dirty, in the right way. They were tough. They were tough. Knock you over, and they didn't care.
They were super tough, man. That's what made us good. They would just refuse to lose. And so that was a lot different because, even when we played Addicts, the Addicts game was the best game in my career, and I don't know if that'll ever be topped.
That was a good one. That was rough, too.
The game at Seymour, when we played Addicts, Banker's Life at the time in 19, it was a great scene. But Seymour the week before was just wild.
Was there a punch thrown in that game?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get to go to that game. I just remember my little brother calling with his little voice at that time. Some player just got punched. Everybody's going crazy. I was
it was wild. There was so many things happening in that game, and so many great plays, and so many shifts and momentum. It was the best thing I've ever been a part of.
But the thing about that 19 class is they grew up winning too. They won in middle school. They won at all levels. They were expected to win, and I think they were expected to get to where they got.
We had during that time too, which goes really unappreciated, is we had a lot of good feeder coaches. A guy named Phil Eckert, coached that group since they were like third grade and up. And those guys played together, during that whole period. So those guys, nobody knows about them when they're in the state title. But when they were younger, they had really good feeder coaches through that time. And then the 21 team was so different because you're expected to win. So you go from you're ecstatic when you win in 19, and then in 21, every game, it was more of a relief than a joy. That
everybody was like, "This is Silver Creek's once in a generation, once in a lifetime team."
You had everybody's best game. And
yeah. And I mean, it's still don't get me wrong. If I could have that situation again, I'd take it every all the time. But it was, and David Benner would tell you the same thing about this year's team. But yeah, but I mean, with the guys we had in 21, we pretty much knew we were going to score every time we got the ball to a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the expectations made it a lot different. And then you couple that with the stress of, are we going to be able to play? How many people get to be there? Do we got to wear a mask? Is this
game get tested?
Is this game going to get canceled all of a sudden? So 21 was just a roller coaster of emotions too.
And while you talk about that COVID year, people always say it, and I agree with it, is that you should be back to back to back champions. Now, like you said, you have to get lucky in March. Things have to go the right way. But what was that like? Because I was part of a team that won a sectional that year and had literally on a bus at Chick-fil-A going to the next game and getting a call. As a head coach, how is that explained that to your team that guys were really good, but we don't get to compete anymore?
I know. Yeah, that was a wild time too because we were in the same situation. We were going to Washington for the regional. So that Friday, literally we were in the locker room getting ready to load the bus. And then we got a call from the IHSA saying that it had been postponed, which is a lot worse than just canceling because we were under the impression we're going to postpone it, but we may be able to play it next week or we may be able to play it next month. And then they kept dragging it. It was just drug on for 6 weeks.
It seems like Wednesday is when it all dropped and things went south. And then as of Friday, it was IHSA says we're still, that's still a go and maybe friends and family or whatever. And then all of a sudden, no, we're going to push it back. And then it just, nothing.
Yeah. And I feel really bad for your team was had a lot of upperclassmen. Bloomington South was undefeated. They were number one. So we had one senior during that season, Taylor Betts, who hated for him, his career to end like that. But luckily for us, most of our players were juniors at that time and sophomores. So
I'll tell you, Heritage Hills thought maybe they could, get back at you guys that next weekend also.
Yeah, we played them in the Hall of Fame in Christmas during the Hall of Fame Classic over Christmas, and we had to go to overtime to beat them. I'm biased, but I think we would have beat them. But that would have been a heck of a game.
Yeah.
So tell me, none of the state championships, none of the wins, none of the players that you're talking about happens without your support. And we've asked a lot of the coaches this. You have a really good support as your assistant coaches, but let's just talk about some of those guys and how important they are to your program.
Right. It's no fun if you don't have good assistants. It's just no fun. And consequently, those guys on my staff are probably my best friends as well. And we've got a special situation where, Neil Kaufman, our JV coach, he's been there as long as I have. So this is his 22nd year in the program. Mark Rieger, who's been a volunteer assistant for us, the same thing, his 22nd year.
Which I don't think I've ever seen anybody scout more than that guy.
Yeah, he's unreal.
He should have a podcast on tasting the popcorn at different gyms because I think he's at every single one of them.
Yeah, I think he could probably rank every gym concession stand in Indiana. But Neil's been really good. Mark sacrificed. He's a volunteer and he does so much. And then Joe Campbell, he joined us in 2017, and Joe's been great for us. And then Perry joined in 2014. So the year that we won sectional was his first year, and I'm sure he likes to say that's not a coincidence.
You haven't had a lot of success since 14. So.
So Perry's great. Our freshman coach this year, the last couple of years, Jay Vance has done a really good job. I'm starting to get to that period where I'm not cool anymore with the kids, and I'm not in their demographic anymore. So having those younger guys, Jay's younger. Chance Coyle is another assistant who was a heck of a player and he an all-star. Played at USI, so he's got some credibility too. He helps our guys out. So I'm really grateful for all those guys. And then our middle, and once again, like it goes down to your middle school grades and all the people that volunteer their time in our youth league or our feeder program. It takes a village to have a good basketball program.
You got a pretty important scorekeeper too.
George is the man. He's probably, if there is a Mount Rushmore of Silver Creek basketball, he would be like the George Washington.
I thought you were going to say scorekeepers. Mount Rushmore of scorekeepers.
Well, just
that and
basketball. Yeah. Like he's done literally because he does he keeps the book at every middle school game too. So George has probably statted or kept a scorebook for over 2,500 basketball games. So he's done games where he's kept stats for a player, but he also kept that player's dad's stats and that player's grandpa's stats.
Crazy.
He's a gem.
So we've talked a little bit about the previous years. So there was a lot of switch up in this past year with the postseason. Mm-hmm. You had a really good team in your sectional last year. Mm-hmm. It always, I guess, it hurts a little less if you lose a sectional and then that person wins. You've done that to a couple players, but talk a little bit about the switch up this year now. Some teams are out, some teams are up, and they went down. Right. But what does that look like for you now?
Well, it's a lot different than the last couple of years because Scottsburg was definitely the kind of the rabbit that everybody's chasing, and I thought we gave them the best game they had all year in the tournament, and so now it shifts to where there's a lot more teams that have a chance, and arguably would think they do. With Brownstown coming into our sectional now, they're going to be really good, and Charlestown has a lot. I know Matt was in here last week, and they probably think they could win. Corden has everybody back. Madison's going to be good. So, it's going to be a really fun sectional because the draw is going to determine a lot, and you have to play well. You're going to have to play well all three games to win.
We've talked about it 4 or 5 times. Jeff's our favorite team that we're going to really watch, but that sectional I'm more excited about than really any other area sectional.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good teams back at Charlestown, so that'd be cool.
Yep.
We asked a couple coaches this. I want to know your opinion. Do you think the regular season should matter for sectionals? Do you think it should
seeded
do you think it should be a seeded sectional, or do you like the random draw?
Just because I've been doing it so long, I'm used to it. I guess I don't have a problem with it. But in every other sport, it kind of matters what your regular season's like. Like as a coach, you play for 3 months. You're playing 22 games. But it's all about you. You tell the team it's all about how you do in March. So that kind of discredits everything you're doing the previous 3 months. But that's the way it is. That's how it is. I'd be okay either way. I've been a part of sectionals where we may have been like the 4th or 5th best team, and we've came and won it. And I've been the team where I thought we were one of the better teams, and we got a bad draw, and it could have been different. So.
Let me take that a step further. You played for Silver Creek in, was it 97?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was the last year of single class basketball. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about class basketball as opposed to single class, and maybe from a coaching and an AD perspective?
Right. The one good thing about class is that there's a lot more people that get to have the feeling of winning a state. You can't, like you just mentioned, Lanesville. That whole town got to experience that. And Brownstown, there's a whole bunch of Borden. I see Kasem right there in that picture. Where class basketball has really been a good thing for those younger, I'm not younger, but smaller schools. I think it'd be really cool. They did it the first couple of years of class where they had a tournament of champions. like all the winners played each other, I think that would make the class basketball argument better.
Yeah.
I would prefer that they still did that. But, man, I think that would be really cool.
Because I'm thinking about your 19 or 21 state championship team. Would they been able to done that in a single class system?
Yeah. Well, I think there's an argument that we could have with the schedule that we played. But I think it'd be really cool if you would have won the one class sectional. I mean, you talk to some of those guys that won it back then, and that's the best. That's also what they did is better than what you did.
Yeah.
Mike Broughton likes to bring that up. But I don't know. I think they're both kind of cool, but I think the one class would be pretty cool if they could find a way to do both. I think that'd be cool.
So let's talk a little bit about your players coming in. You have had a young team. Now you got some guys that are going to be in the upperclassman role, one of those being your son, which is cool to coach. So tell me a little about the team that you're going to have for this coming year, and then how they looked in June, how you felt in June, what you thought about that.
Yeah. I tell you what, last year I had a lot of fun coaching our guys. We had the seniors that we had were, I don't want to say role players, but they were like utility guys. Like they didn't do a lot of our scoring. Most of our talent was younger guys. So now we have a lot of those talented players that are experienced, and we have a lot of high expectations for them. Being young is not an excuse anymore. A couple of years, 2 years ago we played freshmen. Last year we played a lot of sophomores and freshmen, and so now this is kind of their time. And our team chemistry is great. Our team chemistry makes it really fun to come to practice every day. There's some coaches out there who dread going to practice, or I love going to practice. I love being around them, and not every team is like that. So I love these guys just to be around them first and foremost. But then they're good basketball players too. I think the strength of our team, which makes us a good high school team, is our guard play. High school is so much about guard play, and I think our three guards that will play predominantly are really good high school guards.
Oh yeah,
and they're all different. Of course, Kaysen can score it unlike any other. I mean, he can put up 12 points before you even call a timeout. Like he can score
usually on just 4 shots.
yeah. He shot 50% from 3, and he went through a kind of a cold streak a couple of games too. So Kaysen, he's just a special scorer. And he's worked a lot on his game too. He's good at other stuff too. He used to be just the guy that could shoot it. And then Dane Sprigler is another guard that we have that he's a warrior. I mean, he's a tough kid. He can score in a bunch of different ways.
He reminds me of some of those 19 guys. He's got a little,
and his footwork is incredible too. Like he's got really, really good footwork. And then Brandon is the other guard that will play, and Brandon Hunter, he's such a unique guard because he controls the game in more ways than just scoring. He can score, but you can tell when Brandon's in the game when he's not in the game.
Yeah,
and that's a compliment. That's the best compliment you can give a player. So yeah, a couple Kaysen and Dane scoring, and then Brandon, our guard plays really good.
These are all underclassmen, by the way.
Yeah. And then another player that we had talked off the air about that people are going to be talking about a lot is Dane Caldwell, who had spurts for us last year as a sophomore. And you see him out there, he looks like a newborn giraffe.
Yes.
His legs go forever and his arms go forever. But now he's kind of filled into that body. And he had a great spring, a great summer. And I think he's a Division I player when it's all said and done. So really excited about him. And then, of course, you mentioned Walker, who's been playing since he was a freshman. He's going to be the only senior we have. But he's a lot of fun to coach. He's pretty low maintenance. He probably gets a lot of attention, not from just players, but from crowds and social media too. But he's big and strong, and he's pretty efficient around the basket. I think that he's kind of led us in field goal percentage the last 3 years. So those guys are I'm really excited about them. Jaron Miles is another player that played for us last year, a sophomore off the bench. So we've got a lot of good returners coming back. Donovan is back at Silver Creek.
It's a nice surprise.
That's a nice little late addition there.
Yeah, so he was with us all through middle school, and we're glad to have him back. And we have some other good guys that played JV last year that are going to make an impact on the varsity team. Our team's going to be really deep, so that's going to make practice good because those guys are pushing each other. Sometimes we've had teams where the top 6 are really good, and it really falls off. And then when you go to practice against each other, you're not getting each other any better. We've got 2 Brodies, Brody McLaughlin, Brody Oliver. Those 2 are really hungry sophomores that could play too. So, I'm excited about the talent and the hunger our guys have and the chemistry.
And that's one cool thing, just running Era Sports, and we have open runs. Like, you have a lot of gym rats that like DM me all the time. Like, let's get a run going. Can we get it? Like, and one of them even has a gym in their house. But like, you have a lot of guys that just like want to play basketball all the time. And that's a lot of these teams that we have. You have really good players, but maybe they don't want that. But you have like 4 or 5 guys that are like blowing me up to get runs going all the time, which is really, really cool to have.
Yeah. And that's, you got to have guys that love basketball, And I know every school in Southern Indiana especially are having to run, they don't want kids in their gyms unsupervised or whatever. Now that I'm the AD, I gotta fight that battle. But deep down inside, it makes a coach feel good if your guys are in the gym.
Yeah,
that's how they get better. And if your guys would rather do that than be on a video game or on their phone or doing some other things that would get them in trouble, they're in the gym. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
As a coach, are you thinking about down the road, like, hey, we might see a Cathedral. Hey, we might see a New Pal or Addicts who drop down to 3A. Or do you just focus straight on, okay, we got Charlestown, we got Brownstown here. I mean, we got some work to do here locally.
Yeah, most of my attention will go to the sectional opponents.
Okay.
Charlestown and Brownstown and Corden and Madison. You mentioned them. They'll get most of our attention. Now, we already talked about Coach Rieger and some other guys. They'll start doing some scouting on the other teams, but I like to just focus on the sectional first, and then have a little homework done on the other guys in case it does work out. But we're not in a place now where we can just assume that we're going to win. Like, we're going to focus on the guys we need to beat first in sectional. And that's
this
how
group
we've
hasn't won
year.
a sectional yet, right?
Right.
So you got to cross that off the list first.
Yeah.
I mean, as a coach, that would have to be the best feeling to see somebody like Kaysen who's poured it all for the team and then finally get to cut down that net in March.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't, like, when I said like 14 was like the best, it was a really cool thing. The semi-state at Seymour was really cool. 19 when we won, 21 was really awesome. I've been a part of some really cool things, but if I was able to celebrate winning a sectional with my son, I don't think anything would be sweeter than that.
Yeah, that would be so amazing. Speaking of really good players and going to the sectional, Patrick touched on it a little bit, but you did play locally. You did play. Who are some of the better players or best players you played against when you were playing in high school?
Oh, I'd say the best player.
I was going to say Matt Wren.
Yeah. I was the best player that I played against when I was in high school was probably Lamont Rowland at New Albany.
Okay.
Lamont was a stud. He was really good. And that New Albany team was good. Chad Hunter was really good.
The original Row Show.
Yeah. Those New Albany teams were good. So I'd say Lamont. I played with Matt. I think Matt should have been an Indiana All-Star. His stats were unbelievable. But
It's the second time tonight that he got snubbed.
yeah,
Snubbed again.
yeah.
I think it was Doc Nash was saying that he got snubbed from that. He was like averaging triple-double and
Yeah,
should
his
have.
stats were ridiculous. And Doc at New Watch, they were good too. So, all those were always like the glory days where everybody was really good back then. But
What do you take from Coach Beitel at Hanover? What do you take from him into your coaching?
yeah, I tell you what, that was playing at Hanover it's been a big part of my career. First of all, Coach Beitel, if you can play for him for 4 years, you've got mental toughness.
Yeah.
And you love basketball. Like, he was almost, I don't want to say the Bob Knight of Division III, but he was
He's tough.
He was disciplined, and he would get on you, and he'd try to break you, and he held you to a high standard. And if you survived and you played 4 years and you graduated there, then that was something that was a big accomplishment. And then you kind of joined a fraternity, and the big part of that fraternity is high school coaching. You know, there's been a lot of high school coaches that are Beitel guys. You know, just off the top of my head, I mean, Stacy Meyer won a couple of state titles at Greensburg. You know, Dave won. You know, Dave's had a Hall of Fame career. That's Shrewsbury's at Notre Dame. So, and Coach Miller at Hanover, you know, he played. So there's tons of coaches out there. Hank at Salem was one of my good buddies. There's tons of coaches out there who played at Hanover with Beitel, and that's kind of a really cool thing that we can kind of compete against each other and at the same time be advocates for each other.
For sure.
Well, Coach, thank you for coming out today. If you could leave the audience with a couple things that Silver Creek basketball is going to be this year, what would you want the state to know about the Dragons this year?
Well, I think we'll be a lot of fun to watch. I think, you know, people say defense wins championships, but if you like scoring, you're going to like Silver Creek because we got a lot of guys that can put it in the hole. And I think that the style of basketball that we play will not be it's going to be something that everybody's going to enjoy because the ball moves a lot. The tempo we play will be at an enjoyable tempo, and I would think that we're going to be a fun team to watch and cheer for. And I have the highest expectations up for them.
So in February, if I go to John Harold, the offensive average, I'm looking 92, 95. What do we want that to be?
If it's not that, it's the coach's fault.
Okay. Well, Coach, thank you for coming out. As always, follow us on all of our platforms and like and share and subscribe this so you can keep up to date with Era, and we'll see you next time.
Era Sports. We're at the game.